Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates over at Digital Talk Digital and terrestrial affiliates on North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KMPL, and Odyssey Radio. Now, remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the S.O.R Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot and so much more. Now, tonight we have an awesome show for you. We'll be jumping into the Spaced Out Time Machine and taking a look back at the week that was Spaced Out Radio in the S.O.R Weekly Review. Then in hour two, we'll be joined by producer Ian Holt, who created a film called From the Shadows, which I actually was able to go to the premiere, so we'll end up talking about that. And then hour three, we're going to just do a couple things. I don't know. I won't even say right now. We'll just go ahead and jump into that when we get there. Now, you know we're going deep. This can only happen right here on Spaced Out Radio. So I want to thank everybody who showed up last week and showed love and support. And let me actually jump into our comments so we can see who was actually first here tonight. I know it was Race Fan. It was Race Fan. And let's see who we got. Then we got Renee Cruz for the silver, and UFO whistleblowers bring humanity together for the bronze. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Yeah, Race Fan is a machine. He's just in here for sure every single time. Now we're going to be doing a few things, like we talked about before, that we're going to be trying some new things, doing some different things here. As you can see, we have our new Spaced Out banner here at the bottom. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of changes coming through here. Let me go ahead and take a look. We got W. Decker. Can't wait for another great show with Mr. Rob G. Appreciate you coming through, W. Decker. Thank you so much. And let's go ahead and Tim Othman, thanks for coming here. Black Dragon, thanks for coming. Richard Elmore, Chillgasm, Kurt M, Susie B, Susan Holloway, thank you for coming. Dogface, appreciate you coming today. Stargazer, Avita NY, thanks for coming. Kurt M, appreciate you coming today. And let's see, who else do we have here? Jessica S., thanks for coming. Linda B., appreciate you coming through today. Jade, thanks for coming, Jade. Mr. Sam Sheeran, appreciate you coming through. Awesome artwork. All right, Amy, thanks for coming through. Word first list or word firstist, thanks for coming through. Paramar, thanks for coming through. Griff, appreciate you. Linda B., thanks for coming through. Crypted Huntress, Jessica Jones, thanks for coming through. All right, Mike Rivers, thanks for coming through. CS, thanks for coming through. And nice banner, thank you very much. You know, I created it with after hours in mind. You know, one of the many things that we're going to try to do here to get this show into a different space. So we'll see here. Let's see. Your first hang with Mr. Rob. Okay, well, let's do it. Let's get it in. Dave Walters, thank you so much for coming through. Boss Monster. Robert Lamont Jr., thanks for coming through. And I'm almost to the bottom here. The Mac Geek, thanks for coming through. Appreciate your time. Carl Bittner, thank you for coming through. Aaron Baca, thank you. Derek Galloway, thank you for coming through, sir. Okay, True Seeker, thank you for coming through. And I'm almost caught up here, y'all. Sarah, thanks for coming through. All right. Okay, and we're about caught up here. So, thanks for coming through to Spaced Out Radio After Hours. We're going to be doing things a little different. Like I said before, we're going to jump into the week that was Spaced Out Radio. It was an awesome week. We had a lot of awesome guests, and we're going to focus on. There was one guest in particular this week that really, I think, captivated a lot of people and had a lot of interesting things to say, things that resonated with me. And we're going to go ahead and check out a few of those clips for people who did not catch the show during the week. And then we'll be giving commentary on it and opinions and things of that nature. So I'd love to have anybody in the audience that has anything to say about it. We're going to stop, see what you want to talk about, and then we'll go ahead and go further. So, with that being said, first thing I wanted to jump into is more of a story that I don't really know if we got a chance to even talk about during the week, but I did want to bring it up. So let me try to bring this up on screen today. Let's see. Okay, it is this story here, which is an asteroid samples parachute safely onto the Utah desert. So if you remember, a few years ago, NASA sent out a probe to land on an asteroid and bring back material from the asteroid. So it's finally arrived back here on Earth. And we're going to go ahead and just go over the story and then let me know what you think about it. So NASA asteroid samples parachute safely onto the Utah desert. September 24th, a NASA space capsule carrying the largest soil sample ever scooped up from the surface of an asteroid streaked through Earth's atmosphere on Sunday and parachuted into the Utah desert, delivering the celestial specimen to science. The gumdrop shaped capsule, released from the robotic spacecraft of the OSIRIS-REx as the mothership passed within 67,000 miles of Earth earlier, touched down with the designated landing zone west of Salt Lake City on the U.S. military's vast Utah test and training range. The final descent and landing shown on NASA livestream capped a 6-year joint mission between the U.S. Space Agency and the University of Arizona. It was only the third asteroid sample and by far the biggest ever returned to Earth for analysis, following two similar missions by Japan's space agency ending in 2010 and 2020. After the touchdown, the capsule laid nose down on the sandy floor of the Utah desert, a red and white parachute that slowed its high speed descent, resting just feet away after detaching. After some doubt about whether a preliminary chute properly deployed, the main chute unfurled as planned, bringing the capsule to a soft and nearly flawless landing. We heard main chute detected, and I literally broke into tears. Dante Loretta, University of Arizona scientist who has been involved in the project since its origin and watched the descent from a helicopter, told a press conference. Tim Prizer, a Lockheed Martin engineer on the project, said, "We touched down as soft as a dove." OSIRIS-REx collected a specimen 3 years ago from Bennu, a small carbon-rich asteroid discovered in 1999. The space rock is classified as a near-Earth object because it passes relatively close to our planet every 6 years, though the odds of an impact are considered remote. Apparently made up of loose collection of rocks like a rubble pile, Bennu measures 500 meters or 547 yards across, making it wider than the Empire State Building is tall, but tiny compared with the Chicxulub asteroid that struck the Earth some 66 million years ago, wiping out the dinosaurs. Like other asteroids, Bennu is a relic of the early solar system because its present day chemistry and mineralogy are virtually unchanged since forming the 4.5 billion years ago. It holds valuable clues to the origins and development of rocky planets such as Earth. It may even contain molecules similar to those necessary for the emergence of microbes. Samples returned 3 years ago by the Japanese mission Hayabusa 2 from Ryugu, another near Earth asteroid, were found to contain two organic compounds, buttressing the hypothesis that celestial objects such as comets, asteroids, and meteorites that bombarded Earth, early Earth, seeded the young planet with primordial ingredients for life. OSIRIS-REx launched in September 2016 and reached Bennu in 2018, then spent nearly 2 years orbiting the asteroid before venturing close enough to snatch a sample of the loose surface material with its robotic arm on October 20th, 2020. The spacecraft departed Bennu in May 2021 for a 1.2 billion mile cruise back to Earth, including 2 orbits around the sun, hitting the upper atmosphere at 35 times the speed of sound. About 13 minutes before landing, the capsule glowed red hot as it plunged earthward, and temperatures on its heat shield reached 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The Bennu sample has been estimated at 250 grams, far surpassing the 5 grams carried back from Ryugu in 2020, or the tiny specimen delivered from the asteroid Itokawa in 2010. A recovery team of scientists and technicians stood by to retrieve the capsule and attempt to keep the sample free of any terrestrial contamination. The dark capsule and its precious content were flown by helicopter to a clean room at the Utah Test Range for initial examination. On Monday, it will be flown on a military transport plane to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, where the canister will be opened on Tuesday in order for the samples to be parceled into smaller specimens promised to some 200 scientists and 60 laboratories around the world. The main portion of OSIRIS-REx spacecraft, meanwhile, is expected to sail on to explore Apophis, another near-Earth asteroid. And that is it for that story. So, so looking at that, we talked to Jim Goodall the other day, if you remember, well, actually last week, and he made a statement that kind of resonated with me on this, and I mentioned this on the Social Dig as well. But it's kind of risky, right? When you're doing things like that and you're bringing potential pathogens, as Jim Goodall stated, potentially things that are living, if there is life on an asteroid, microbial life, and then bringing that or introducing that into the Earth's biosphere. So I don't know what you think about that kind of risky move. And in a situation like this, we have no say so in how in the decision process that's made when they decide to do something like that. So I don't know what you think about that, but it's just one of the many things that we don't have control over when it comes time to make decisions that could be earth changing. And I think that's a big deal. So that's one of the reasons why I thought this story was important. Obviously, the scientific value of it and whatever they're able to determine from the samples themselves. Maybe they find some sort of microbial life on these asteroids, or even just the building blocks of our solar system. So I think it's a big thing. Um, to consider, to look at. But yeah, it's just the whole potentially, introducing something that could wipe out the planet if you really want to be real with it. I mean, it's really that serious, that heavy, but I'm sure they've thought all that stuff through. But was definitely interesting. And the fact that Jim Goodall had made a comment on that really opened my mind up to that being possible. You don't really think of that kind of stuff, but these are things that can happen right up under our noses, and we don't have any control over it. So, taking a look at this here, let me just see. Let's say, did it say what time was for reentry on the 24th? I guess it already came. It's already arrived, and I believe it was right around 10 o'clock. They didn't say AM or PM. No, I covered this story before, but they did not say the time. It was roughly 10:45, somewhere in there. And let's see. Okay, just looking for any comments on that story. But yeah, very interesting story. So what I wanted to cover next is there was the whole uh the whistleblower story. So we had 30 to 50 more whistleblowers come forward, according to Michael Schellenberg. And he went ahead and covered this in a public interview. So I want to go ahead and go through the story, but then I also want to look at what the responses were to this story from our own Tim Senor and Dave Scott earlier this week on Spaced Out Radio. And then we're going to look at Paul T. Smith and some of the comments that he made that kind of stood out to me. It was one of the best interviews for sure of the week. Former intelligence officer, military veteran, remote viewer. And we're going to look into some of the biggest comments that he made that really stood out to me. So let me go ahead and get our other story up here. Yes, this is it here. All right. So Michael Schellenberg has really been on top of this, and just shout out to Michael Schellenberg for being one of the journalists out there willing to stay on top of the whole UFO UAP situation, whistleblower situation. And he's actually, his last two stories, he reported, I know about a month or so ago, about 12 whistleblowers that he had knowledge of that had stepped forward. This is right around the UFO hearing with David Grush, if you recall, and Ryan Graves and Fravor. So this time he has a story stating that there's up to 30 to 50 whistleblowers that have come forward. And it's pretty interesting, the details of this. And actually, the Mick West even chimes in on this, and it kind of took me by surprise what his comments were on this. So let me go ahead and take us through this story. If you have not read this article, I would definitely say to go do that. But here we have Thomas A. Monheim, nominee for Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, speaking at a hearing with the Senate Select Intelligence Committee on Capitol Hill, July 20th, 21st in Washington, D.C. All right, so jumping into this article, in August, shortly after U.S. government UFO whistleblower David Grush gave testimony to Congress about crashed spacecraft and alien biologics, many observers wondered how much credence to put in his testimony. After all, Grush is just a single individual. The other two individuals who testified before Congress were Navy pilots, former Navy pilots, who said they had no evidence of a government program to retrieve and reverse engineer spacecraft of exotic and apparently non-human origin. but at least 30 other whistleblowers working for the federal government contractors had given testimony or, quote, protected disclosure to the Office of Intelligence Community Inspector General, the ICIG, the Defense Department Inspector General, or DODIG, or to the Congress over the last several months, according to multiple sources interviewed by public. When told that the whistleblowers had come forward to share information similar to that shared by Grush with Congress, Mick West, a prominent skeptic of UFOs, said, "It'd be very interesting, more people saying the same thing independently makes it more likely to be true." And I covered this on my show earlier in the week. And, it was just that statement stood out to me because it's coming from Mick West. Mick West, of all people, going ahead and chiming in and giving a positive, optimistic sort of statement, stating that more whistleblowers coming out is a good thing. And it just seems like his stance is sort of changing a little bit on the whole UAP issue. He may have been presented or seen enough evidence so far to feel like maybe, hey, this stuff might be real, or maybe I shouldn't be stand so hard on the skeptic side of things. So I think this is potentially Mick West maybe turning the corner. I don't know. So, but going further on this, and yet the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Thomas A. Monheim, on September 15th appeared to deny in a letter to Congress that his office was investigating these claims. Monheim said that his office has not conducted any audit, inspection, evaluation, or review of alleged UAP programs within responsibility authority of the DNI that would enable a fulsome response. By the way, Monheim worded his response the way he worded his response suggests he gave himself some wiggle room. Matthew Pines, a civilian intelligence analyst, noted last week that the official taxonomy for ICIG activities includes audits, investigations, inspections, and reviews. It is curious that an investigation is not denied. The investigations division is structurally separate from the audit and inspections and evaluations division. The fact that dozens of whistleblowers have come forward is not evidence of extraterrestrial life, nor of a government conspiracy to cover up a retrieval or reverse engineering program, and not all of the whistleblowers may be reporting evidence of UAPs. Some may simply be reporting illegal or unethical behavior related to UAP programs. But the sources who asked to remain anonymous are all in a position to know, told the public that, in addition to whistleblowers reporting wrongdoing, between 30 to 50 government employees or contractors had gone to the DoD's All Domain Anomaly Research Resolution Office, or ARROW, to offer testimony for UAPs. Some witnesses / whistleblowers are coming forward directly to ARROW, some to the DODIG, some to the ICIG, and some to Congress, says Nick Pope, a UAP expert who worked on the issue for the UK's Ministry of Defense. Many have speculated as to whether Grush and other UAP whistleblowers or witnesses might be part of a U.S. government disinformation campaign. A former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer working at Kirkland Air Force Base in the 1980s through the first decade of this century admitted to British journalist Mark Pinkleton and others that he spread this information about UFOs with the aim of misleading civilian UFO investigators in order to cover up both U.S. military as well as non-human technology programs. But experts interviewed by the public say it's unlikely that people waging a disinformation campaign would do it through the Office of the Inspector General, since doing so puts individuals at risk. Consider the broader context to include Grush's allegations, previous reporting by the public, and the extraordinary legislation working its way through Congress, said Merrick von Rennenkamp, a former Pentagon appointee under the Obama administration. I find it hard to believe that so many individuals would open themselves up to significant legal jeopardy by willfully lying to the Inspector General. Knowingly giving false testimony to the ICIG is punishable by fines up to $10,000, imprisonment for up to 5 years, or both. If found guilty of lying to Congress, Grush would face up to 5 years in prison. At the same time, the history of the past government disinformation campaign in general, as they specifically relate to UAPs, involves. Just lost it here. Okay, involves the mixing of accurate information and inaccurate information, making it difficult or impossible to feel confident in understanding the meaning of fundamental elements of the phenomenon. That reality and the need to prevent government officials from deliberately misleading journalists, policymakers, and the public make greater transparency and disclosure essential. Both UFO skeptics and believers agree. It's either that dozens of highly cleared officials are in the grip of enduring bizarre delusion or witting participants to a broad scale and long running psychological deception, says Pines, or they are relaying factual information on extraordinary covert programs. Said West, I can understand why people would think ufology is frivolous and a waste of government money, and we shouldn't be looking into it, but they don't think we shouldn't release the secret information about crash alien craft. Something everybody wants to see. Testimony has included both firsthand and secondhand reports of crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs by U.S., Russian, and Chinese governments, the testing of materials obtained from the retrieved craft, active and ongoing government disinformation operations, kinetic military action with UAP contact and collaboration with non-human intelligence or NHIs, and the successful reverse engineering of a triangle-shaped craft with unconventional propulsion. Yeah, so with that being said, that story is to me is a bombshell, and for a few reasons. For one, these are first and second hand. These are first and second hand people that are stepping forward, whistleblowers, right? People, and everybody's been asking for that. Everyone's been asking for the people who had direct access to the craft, who have direct knowledge of these programs. And from what it appears, that's what we have here. And I know we talked about some of this on the roundtable yesterday, but I don't think some of the points were hit on this as far as why it is so important. I think as far when we talk about getting if and we in my perspective, in my view, I really don't believe that the government really intends at any point to give us the data that we really want. But if you're a person that watches the government, spends your time watching the whole situation unfold, then this is a silver lining in that cloud, right? Because you have people who have seen these things or work directly within these programs, both in the government and through government contractors, that are actually coming forward. So, I'd said before, they're behind a protected shield in their current positions. They're hidden away from the public as far as in their work titles, but they felt a need to go ahead and step up and step out and become a whistleblower. Now, whether it was because of David Grush or if it was because, they simply want to do something to help benefit humanity, or if it was just as simple as they wanted to prepare a better situation going forward for their children, grandchildren, and so far, so forth, going down the line. I believe it's a beautiful thing, but what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and check and see what Tim and Dave had to say about this. This was earlier in the week when they actually made a comment on this. So let's see what they had to say.
Dave, it's getting heated. A lot of information coming forward, but a lot of whistleblowers coming forward too. So they may not want to admit it, but there's a lot on the plate right now.
Well, I think it's great. I think that more people who testify is wonderful. Okay, it brings legitimacy to people who may not be very well known or well versed on the subject of UFOs and UAP. All right. I am very much in favor of this. However, this is where I get a little bit concerned. Who are they? If they are protected under the Whistleblowers Act and are talking about this stuff, why are we not allowed to see them in public? Now, I do understand, playing devil's advocate here, I do understand that these certain people may be still involved in the U.S. intelligence, the military, or the government, where they cannot, due to other operations, speak on behalf of this topic publicly. Their identities may all of a sudden be putting others at risk, shall we say? Okay, because there is a world of espionage going on out there. But you know what? You can leave those people out. I'm pretty sure that not all 24 of them are those type of people.
That's
Okay,
right.
we've heard stories about Kevin Day and Robert Salas testifying in front of Congress. Why can't they be public? They've been public the entire time. Okay, we need to know what is the true list of these people. Name names if it doesn't harm national security or any current missions that the government is on. I think that's fair. It's fair to the American public. It's fair to the world public. And if there is that much dogged information that we need to get out there, don't brag to me about how many whistleblowers you have. Show us what they brought to the table. Show us what their meaning to this conversation is. All right. I mean, who are they? We're hearing names. Okay. The rumor mill has names, whether it's Mike Herrera or like I said, Kevin Day or Robert Salas and others. But that shouldn't be a discretion of this Whistleblowers Act. Remember, Tim, one thing that people like Tim Burchett and Marco Rubio and all of these people have said over the last couple of years, what's the word they throw around like candy? Transparency. I don't see a lot of transparency going on in these hearings. And, as interesting as they are and as much as they're needed, what's the public getting out of it? What are we getting out of it? What are you getting out of it? What about, a 35-year-old lady who can't work because she's getting abducted each and a couple times a week, and it's affected her psyche, her sleep pattern, her ability to concentrate because of the PTSD that comes along with it? What about the man who, has to get up for work at 2 o'clock in the morning to go haul logs out of the mountains and sees weird lights all the time? Which, by the way, that is a true story from a number of logging truckers I've talked to in my area. What about all these instances? Why can't we just talk about it? Why the secrecy? And I'm sorry, that bugs me. It really does. I mean, maybe I'm a little passionate about it, but I'm not impressed with it. Great, you're a whistleblower. And here's the other thing, like Paul H. Smith just said about Project Stargate, all of these remote viewers have come out and stated they were part of Project Stargate. And he said he's uncovered numerous people who had nothing to do with the project. They just wanted to have the 15 minutes of fame saying that they were a part of Project Stargate for remote viewing. Well, how many people are going to come out and say, I'm a whistleblower, but we don't have a list? We can't cross their name off a list. How do we know they're telling the truth or just another disinformation pattern regarding this subject? Your thoughts, Tim?
No, you're making some great points. And the fact is, our newly coined term ufology, has kind of, or I'm sorry, ufolitics, ufology plus politics is ufolitics. I think that really kicks in here because we're seeing a lot of that come into play here. And no, you're absolutely right. The fact is we have seen actual witnesses in the public kind of been brushed to the side when it comes to this topic. However, we are seeing this topic being taken to a whole nother level now by the government. And all that being said, the fact is that dozens of these whistleblowers have come forward to further in this Substack article, have come forward is not evidence of extraterrestrial life nor a government conspiracy to cover up a retrieval or reverse engineering programs. And not all the whistleblowers may be reporting evidence of UAP. Some may be simply reporting illegal or unethical behavior reported to or through UAP programs. But the sources, who some have asked to remain anonymous, are all in position to know, and told public.com that in addition to the whistleblowers reporting wrongdoing, between 30 to 50 government employees or contractors have gone to the DoD's All Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, to offer testimony directly about UAPs specifically. And in a quote, some witnesses and whistleblowers are coming directly to ARROW, some to the DoD IG and some to the ICIG, and some directly to Congress. So it's looking like many have speculated to whether Grush and other UAP whistleblowers or witnesses might be part of a USO government disinformation campaign. And so that is absolutely part of the conversation, but experts are being interviewed by public.com, and they say it is unlikely that the people waging a disinformation campaign will do it through the office of the Inspector General, since doing so puts individuals at
Oh, okay. My bad. I muted the mic. I'm asking, I said, what do you guys think about that? Because I think that that's a good thing. I think that the whole idea of these guys coming forward, I mean, I guess you could look at it more than one way, but I'm looking for the silver lining and everything, right? So when I look at this, I think that that's actually a pretty good situation that we have people coming forward to give the information. Now we know that likely the information will be classified and done in a skiff, but if we're talking about the government exposure, that a step in the right direction? Are we going down the right path? If if that's what we have going on, I would love to hear from you guys. Let me go ahead and take a look in here. Grush is another grifter, and everyone said months ago he wasn't in it for any money at all. I don't know. I don't. I don't. Is that what you get from this, Derek Galloway? I don't know. Let me see here. You wanted to say so much. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this isn't even really tied to David Grush technically. I mean, this is more about the new whistleblowers that are actually coming forward. And is that a good thing or not? Because I feel like it should be looked at as a good thing, a positive thing, because like I said before, this shows that there are more people who really don't have any reason to step out and say anything, that are actually making a conscious choice to say, I should step forward and say something. So I think that's the big thing right there. So I don't see any way that you could spin this story in a way that would seem to be negative, or that any sort of negative spin that you could put on this. I mean, if I'm wrong, please tell me. I'm looking in the chat. I just want to know. So, Derek Galloway, absolutely. Let's see. Shelly Montgomery. Okay, see, most of us kept quiet most of our lives. I don't want the younger ones to keep it bottled up. I'm sure you all know what I mean by that. Yeah, let's see. Dave Walters. I think Dave makes a good point about it moving into a CIA or other operation to stifle or confuse the subject. I can see that. I can understand that. Black Dragon Rob G. There is no such thing as disclosure. People tend to forget about all the players involved. Right. So and I'm one and here's the thing with that, right? So I will we anytime you have government talk about disclosure of UFOs or UAP, there's a portion of people that think that that's important or pay attention to that. I am one that feels like that definitely knows for a fact that disclosure will never come from the government. It's only going to come through us. But I always say this though. I say if they did do something or if they did make a move that pushed the needle that way, it would be more like a cherry on top. And it's actually a good situation um, for them to, or for people within, because the government themselves aren't the ones that are doing this. They're people within the government that are deciding to blow the whistle on this. So, what I feel like is that's the humanity side of those people kicking in and saying either I'm doing this for humanity. I mean, I don't see any financial gain in that. So, it has to be a move being done to further humanity, or it has to be a step being done with consideration of their own families and their grandchildren and children to come down the line, and that this is a conscious effort to try to blow the lid off of what the government is keeping secret. So 30 to 50 is a big number. Then you have the fact that they said in the article that these are first-hand people and second-hand people. So some of these people are the people that everyone's been looking for, everyone's been complaining about or calling for to uh, come out. The ones that have their hands on the craft, the ones that can tell you where these programs are, who's involved, and I think that's a great thing. Where's the bad side to that? So let me see. Rick Doty, huh? Rick Doty and his group have 10 to 15 whistleblowers set for the Senate hearing, and the Senate does not come through. They will disclose to media without them. Okay, Truth Seeker. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, Jade. Yep, no disclosure ever. That's how I feel about it. Let's see. Jerry Lahane, I just get disclosure equals redacted, redacted, redacted. Yeah, I mean, and that's probably the end result of the uh whatever testimony these 30 to 50 whistleblowers end up giving. Grush had some of his stuff approved to be able to come out and talk about. It's not guaranteed the other whistleblowers will take the same path. So it's a great chance that the testimony that they do give will stay behind the skiff. But then I would just hope that someone like a Burchett or is done in front of Congress, or at least with Congress, some of the ones that are trying to push that line, because they're the ones that really need to hear this testimony, so they know they need to stay on this case. Because if we're having firsthand individuals, then there's probably some crazy, crazy stories being told about some of the things that we have and some of the things that we're doing. And then the article, as you saw, ended with um, a person pretty much confirming within that group of people, confirming that there's a triangle shaped craft, reverse engineered craft, right? So that falls into the obvious confirmation. If they can confirm the reverse engineered craft, then they're essentially confirming the fact that we have the original craft that we reverse engineered this off of. So I don't see the bad part of this. I just don't. I see it as all positive information that will at least push the needle forward. Does it help you or me here in normal life right now? No, because we don't get to see or hear anything about what it was. But as long as we have people, and that's kind of what it is these whistleblowers are in fact going against what it is that the government wants them to do, because the government doesn't want them to come out and say anything. These contractors don't want them to come out and say a word, but they are. And then if you get more and more people doing that, then that whole brotherhood or society, secret society type atmosphere that they have within these arms of government in these programs, that gets broken. And that's kind of how you get, that's how you disarm them from within, right? You get them to turn on each other, which is how they've done the UFO community for years, as we already know. And you get people to defect essentially from these programs and say, hey, yeah, this stuff is going on. And if more people can get the same state of mind or whatever brought these people to to the decision to go ahead and do this, then that if you want the government ever to, if you hope one day that the government is ever going to flip and make a move on that, it's going to take moves like this right here. It's going to take a lot more moves like that. Because if you get all the government contractors, all the government officials that are tied into these programs and have firsthand knowledge, and you can't trust that they might, turn the secret over, then that kind of crumbles from within, sort of thing. And if there was ever a hope for it to come out through the government, that would pretty much be the hope that you have right there. Paranormal Pixie, disclosure is something different to each and every one of us. If we scream for information, then come after those who try. We don't deserve it. All right. Black Dragon, I don't even trust Congress, right? I mean, you can't. Yeah. I mean, I understand what you mean by that. I understand what you're saying with that. Dave Walters, 80 plus years of cover up, not including stories and news articles from pre 1900. Nothing coming soon, but I hold out hope. And that's all you can do. That's what I say. Don't waste your time waiting on them to do anything or for this to turn into something fruitful. Don't waste your time waiting on that. Continue with the experiencers and all the ground level people that and us getting together to try to figure this out. And then hopefully, cherry on top, that stuff gets worked out and they come out and say something. But we've talked many times about how you have like a friend Tom King and Tim Senor, Terry Hall, how they are doing research on the ground on behalf of the people. Then you have people out there with the psionics cameras that are collecting their own data. You have experiencers everywhere who have experiences that they can document and talk about. You have sightings, you have videos that have been taken of anomalous craft, all done by the people. So if we all got together with all that information, we could really bring disclosure ourselves. But then this would be cherry on top, just them actually admitting that there was something to this whole Roswell crash retrieval recovery situation, and then validating David Rush's testimony, and even at the end of the day, validating Bob Lazar's testimony, who, I know he's almost vindicated, if you ask me. I mean, it's pretty close for Bob Lazar to be vindicated. It's not that far away. But let me take a look here. Looks like I missed this earlier, Debster. I'm sorry about that. Debster, with the $2 super chat. Appreciate your support, Spaced Out Radio. And let me jump back in the live here. What else are you guys saying about that? It says, I've been yelling, Carl Bittner. Just lost your message here. Carl Bittner has been yelling that there would never be any disclosure. I saw your message, Carl. Okay, here we go. Carl says, yeah, he's been yelling there will never be a true disclosure. And I agree. Jay doesn't trust anyone but her kids. That's funny, but I'm with you on that. Let's see what we got. 11% approval rating. Let's see anything else on this. Okay. Dave Walters, the latest effort to discredit is discouraging. Well, see, and he says, but I still believe. Now, that's the thing, right? So up until this point, up until this story came out, there was a lot of momentum behind disclosure. And I talked about this before. There was a lot of momentum behind it, and then it kind of stalled out for a moment. Didn't seem we had what do we have? We have the Mexico mummies kind of, you know, took the air out of our sails basically. But then this story comes back. So what the positive part, and I'm always looking for the positive part of it all if you haven't noticed, but the positive part about this is that even when they try to discredit or they try to throw a wrench, which they're actively doing, we have something we there's always something that helps out that comes right behind it. So it just lets you know that the fight, even though I mean we're coming together like we are and discussing it, but the active fight to keep this going and keep this in the public eye and to keep this in the news is actively being fought, because every move there ends up being a counter move. Every time you think that disclosure is down, there comes a moment where disclosure is back up again and there's a story like this released. So I think this is a L for the government, the top secret agencies and contractors. I think this story is a L for them. It's not necessarily a win for us because we don't get anything directly from it, but it just shows that there's dysfunction. There's a level of dysfunction going on in those secret areas where we are never privy to. Like we can't affect those areas directly in any way, regardless how loud we yell out and stand on a soapbox and say how we want disclosure. That never gets to those guys in those secret programs. They're always unaffected. So to show that something that's been lit in there in those untouchable areas is actually making things difficult at the least over there. I think that's a beautiful thing. So keep believing, Dave Walters, because the discouraging, the discrediting effort is definitely in full effect. But there's someone fighting on our behalf somewhere over there. They're definitely doing it. So Paramar, let's see, Black Dragon actually says, Para, I know I most had openly lied to the American people and now they want everyone to believe them. I'm a person that says they do have, this is what I say to the government, and I say it just hopefully hoping someone out there in government land is listening, but I let them know that they have probably their last actual chance at this point to regain the trust of the people. Like if you care about the trust of the public, then you have to take it upon yourself, which even though we know they won't do it, but you would have to take it upon yourself to bring disclosure first before we do. If we do it first, then you've lost all options of ever being trusted again going forward. Trust is out the window at that point. So, and I always hope that they listen because it's true. How can you go back? How can you trust a liar after you've caught them in so many lies, right? You lose that trust. And it's the same situation with them. And I'm just, you would hope that it's something that they end up recognizing like, hey, we care about the American people. We want this governmental structure to continue after disclosure. We want the people to still look to us as, protectors and all those things. Boy, you have to come out and tell the truth. And so the clock is ticking on that, because when we go outside one day and we have an Independence Day sort of scenario where there's a craft in the sky, it's too late then. Then it's too late. So you got to do it before then. You got to do it before that big disclosure moment happens on behalf of the people, or it's going to be really tough for you to come back and gain that trust. So let me see. Okay. How reliable? Let's see. The question about have a question about the mummies who were debunked. Who debunked them, and how reliable are they? So I would implore everyone. I mean, as far as that goes, go to. I have on my page, the social dig. I have the Mexico hearing translated in English. So if you haven't watched it in English, regardless on what you believe about the Mexico mummies, I would say watch it, because before I saw the translated video, and I know we got a couple minutes here to break. Um, Before I watched it on video, I was under the impression that these guys just brought these mummies out and no one knew what was happening. But when I watched the translation, I saw that they had actually done some research on some testing, and they were actually going over the results during the hearing. And you would have never gotten that without the translation. So, Black Dragon, I would say go watch that video and then just see how you feel after that. Jessica S. Robbie looking sharp tonight. Thank you so much. Um, Let me see if we can get another comment before the break here. Oh, boom, boom. More complex than any other species. Yeah, I mean, we'll go with that comment here. So, Night Stalker, maybe they know the phenomena is way more complicated than we understand, more complex than other species here, and more like a metaphysical presence. Maybe contact needs to be subjective. That's pretty deep. That's something to really think and ponder. Um, there's a lot in that comment there, so I'm with you. And let's see. Okay, Bob Perkins, hive mind. 2 words, hive mind. And we got to make sure we break out of that mentality. There are definitely a lot of hive minds that just plug into the matrix and keep the machine going. That's what they want you to do. Obviously, any moment that we get this actual movement going, where we all get together. I mean, it's a lot of us everywhere, all over the world. If we all just got together and then tried to push this, then it would be really hard for that movement to be stopped. So I mean, somebody needs to actually organize that. I mean, maybe we can do that. Tell a friend, let's get everybody on board and get this thing going. But what we're going to do right here, and I have some other stuff that I wanted to cover, but we ran out of time. We're going to pause for the break right now, because in hour 2, we're going to be talking to producer of the movie From the Shadows, Ian Holt. And then we'll jump into some other stuff in hour 3. You can only get this sort of content right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go ahead and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio After Hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And we're going to be welcoming our guest, Ian Holt, producer of the film From the Shadows. But before we do that, to all the space travelers out there, consider taking the next step. Join the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Travelers Club for as little as $5. Get some official Spaced Out swag at spacedoutradio.com. So, as you see on the banner here, we're going to bring in special guest today, Ian Holt, producer of the movie From the Shadows. You may have saw him a few weeks back on Spaced Out Radio, but the movie is out now and is definitely something that I think everybody should go see. So, we're going to go ahead and bring in Ian right now, Mr. Ian Holt. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. About yourself?
I'm hanging in there, recuperating from the past couple of weeks. All that, the premiere, the opening, and all that. Well, you were there. It was a pretty fun party.
Awesome premiere. Awesome movie.
Thank you.
That a lot of twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. I was pleasantly surprised. Me and my lady, we were both pleasantly surprised. So I wanted to jump into that. We will get to that. And actually, can we play the trailer for the crowd today as well? Are we okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So I wanted to, before we jump into the actual movie, I wanted to just kind of find out a little bit about you as far as how you started, starting from a kid, what got you interested in this sort of realm, because there's a lot of things that I saw in the film that makes me feel like you're really tied into this area as far as like ufology and this sorts of things. So just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us how you got started.
Well, there are kind of like 3 incidents that really shaped my youth. One was when I was young, was when the Amityville horror was happening, and I grew up on, I moved from Brooklyn to Long Island, right, which is about 40 minutes from Amityville in a place called Long Beach. And when the Lorraine Warren and Ed did the investigation of the house, and they found the ghost boy image. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's an image of the little boy that supposedly died in the house. And I got my dad to drive me over to the house the next day when it was in the Newsday newspaper. And I ran up to Lorraine Warren and begged them to let me in to join the investigation. I was, I think, 7 years old. So that was one. And I kept in touch with Lorraine my entire life. In fact, she was a consultant on my film Episode 50.
Wow.
And then the other one was for Halloween, my mom took me to buy a costume. And in the store, there was this record done by Christopher Lee telling the story of Dracula. And she bought it for me, all the Hammer horror movie music. And on the back is a story of the historical Dracula. And I was 10 years old, and I found out Dracula was real. And that set me off on researching Dracula from the time I was young, and that's how I wound up writing the sequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula with Dacre Stoker, Bram's great-grandnephew, which is now the official sequel to Bram Stoker's Dracula. That was my big claim to fame. And then the third one was, as a child, my dad took me to see Chariots of the Gods.
Oh, yeah.
And that really, it was funny. It was like I was a little kid, and I knew there were pyramids in Mexico, and I knew there were pyramids in Egypt. And when it came together, like, oh, there must be some connection between them. And I was already a fan of the Bermuda Triangle, the antediluvian world. There was a book that was done by Hector Berlioz, about the Bermuda Triangle, really famous, that I read as a kid. So that all comes together into my love of horror, paranormal, and ufology.
Wow. I mean, you talk about the Warrens, so that's They run around investigating all sorts of paranormal. They're the ones depicted right in The Conjuring.
Yes, they're the Conjuring couple. And I'll tell you something that Lorraine told me that I don't know if it's common knowledge, but the demon that's supposedly in the Amityville house, she was actually sent, and I think that she said this in a documentary or two, but she was sent across by the Vatican. It had supposedly had a relic of the original cross that Jesus was crucified on to get rid of the demon from the Amityville house. Because the church was not going, because it was such a popular case, the church didn't want to get involved. So they sent her to exorcise the house. And she wasn't strong enough. And that, to get it out of our realm, however she put it. But that demon then went and possessed the Son of Sam's dog, which caused the Son of Sam killings.
Whoa.
That's her belief. That was her belief.
That's heavy. That's heavy. Jeez. Okay. I mean, well, I didn't anticipate that you were going to. I mean, you're ingrained into some real wild stuff.
I've got some more for you. I got some Charles Manson for you too.
Let's go. Let's go.
So I was working on a series called Paranormal State. I don't know if you guys remember. It was on A&E, and they were investigating the Eastern State Penitentiary, I think it was, or whatever it was. In fact, I have all the pictures here. I wish I could share my screen. But I was researching episode 50, and we went down to the prison. And in the warden's home, we found a hidden panel in the wall. Now, the warden was known for doing Bible study with the death row prisoners every Tuesday and Thursday. And this prison was where Charles Manson was born. His mother was incarcerated there. On the woman's side, he was born there.
Wow.
And the warden brought them up to his apartment, and they would do Bible study. Well, we found that there's a secret panel in the warden's home, and when you take off the panel, there was a glass pentagram. And it's supposedly the most haunted prison in the country. And now we know why, because they weren't doing Bible study. They were doing satanic worship.
Wow. So
that got me curious. And we started going through the archives. And what we found is this letters written by Charles Manson, who was prison in L.A., to the warden of the prison in Pennsylvania, asking to be transferred so he can join, quote unquote, he actually put it in quotes, your Bible study. Right? So we found these letters from Manson. And by this time, I tried to start a correspondence with Manson, because I've always had this belief that there was more to the Tate LaBianca murders than Bugliosi or anyone else admitted to. I think there was a satanic ritual to it. There's a belief going around, and this kind of said, okay, if he was into satanic worship, is the legend true? The legend supposedly is that Adolf Hitler, this is crazy, but this is the legend. Adolf Hitler worked with a Jewish, illusionist back then, who was also an occultist, like a Aleister Crowley type figure.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked with Hitler. I mean, you've seen these pictures of Hitler posing against the black and learning how to control a crowd. They actually have those pictures, and he was the one that was posing Hitler in those pictures. A lot of people believe that this occultist, he was a demonologist, sort of like Ed Warren, and that he taught Hitler how to be possessed or take control of a demon in order to hypnotize a crowd. He basically hypnotized the country, because Hitler was I mean, when he started, he was just a little nothing. He was like a 5 foot, they called him the little lieutenant. He was, in World War I, he was nobody. How did he grow to become that powerful? People would die for this guy. The story supposedly is that this Jewish illusionist taught him to call in the demon and control this demon or possess him in some way, and that then he had him killed, which is true. Hitler did have this illusionist to help pose him and teach him how to pose, killed. So a lot of people believe there's more of the story, and a lot of people believe that the Tate LaBianca murders was Manson's attempt to conjure that same demon because he wanted to take over the world and rule the world.
That's deep. Oh my God, that is deep. If that is true, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Now, what would you because there's the rumor that they had also the ability to reverse engineer craft at that time. Do you feel like that tied into that as well with the whole Hitler thing, or?
I mean, the most interesting thing on that is this facility in Poland where they actually set up this ring with these chains that supposedly held an acorn-shaped bell.
Okay.
Right? That was with weird writing on it, and a lot of people, a lot of Jews who were slave labor there, saw it, and there were people in the village that saw it. It was chained to this thing, and then it supposedly disappeared. And now you flash forward. I think it was Kecksburg in also in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
The acorn-shaped bell reappeared. A lot of people believe that bell either came from the future and was sent back, or was from that period in 1944 and was sent forward to 1980 something when the Kecksburg incident happened. But I'm not remembering my dates.
Right. Yeah. Roughly. Yeah.
So yeah, but they, the guards that saw the bell described the same type of bell that was with the Nazis. Now, if there's any truth to that, and this whole facility in Poland was built around this bell, well, there's your proof that there was reverse engineering of alien technology that the Nazis were working with.
You're dropping bombs here. What's going on? I have never heard that put into that context, and that is wow.
I mean, if you look at the descriptions of the two craft, I mean, they're practically the people that saw the Kecksburg and the people that saw the bell in 1944. I mean, it's almost the same craft. As acorn shaped with a brim around it with strange writing.
I can go with that. Especially now with everything that's going on, and they're even considering the fact that some of these things we're seeing now are time travelers. Then when you say that really hits and makes a lot of sense. That would be insane if that was the case. That you may have opened a whole new can of worms. I'm gonna look into that because now you're gonna make me take another look at the Kecksburg case. Now, what do you feel about what is your opinion on what's going on now, like as far as ufology goes, like with all the hearings and things that we're going through, the current state, the back and forth? What do you feel? What is your opinion on the field right now?
I think it's, all your fault and Dave Scott's fault. I think people like you have been waking people up for years. And I think that Ancient Aliens on TV and all these shows on every channel and all these people coming forward with stories, it just got to a point where we grew up with this. So our generation grew up with it. Our generation and the generation underneath us grew up believing this, even though everyone was telling them it's not true. So when this generation becomes fighter pilots and airline pilots and they see this stuff, they're not going to sit quiet about it. Right. When the generation before us grew up on loose loose lips sink ships, and had the Soviet Union over their head, and they couldn't talk about everything, and everything was secret. That's not our generation. We didn't grow up with the Soviet Union, threatening us, and it's probably Sputnik or something.
Right.
This is like, hey, I don't know what that is in the sky. I'm not lying about it, and people are coming forward. And I think the government just can't hide it anymore. I mean, it's just too ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and then you have this new generation of young people coming in, and they're totally just like, yeah, they're open to the whole thing. Like, so that whole evolution, yeah, I guess you can see that take place, and that's why I guess they say they're waiting for a lot of the older generation to move on before they get to a point to where that's one of the things that they say before they actually come out and say something. I think that they're never going to tell us, period, because I think it's more of a control thing more than just a generational thing. So, but yeah, I mean, you make a good point there, and
I think
and
the genie's out of the bottle, man.
it
When you have a live investigation happening every week on the Secrets of Skywalker Ranch, and the stuff I see on that show, and that's all like scientific record with major scientists who worked for the government at one point, now doing this research. I mean, how does the government stop that? Were they going to come down with the Men in Black and shut down the show? You already have the black helicopters following them as they're doing their research live on the show. So obviously they're under surveillance by military, people, you know. So I mean, how do you, with all the technology we have today that you and I can get, and
Mhm.
you watch even a fun show like Expedition X, they have these cameras that search the sky and a database that figures out if it's a plane, if it's a satellite, or unknown. So you could put this camera up and it scans the sky using the transponder information that's available to all Americans
Mhm.
on the internet, and with the satellite data and the starfield data, and it can tell you when there's a satellite traveling overhead, when there's a asteroid or whatever, and they know what it is. The computer knows, and if it can't identify it, it says unknown. There's your UFO. So I mean, if everyone can have this technology, how are they going to
Right.
stop it?
So I mean, and they're obviously trying, as you can see with all the articles and things that have come out about David Grush since he stepped out into the public, and you would think that he was bringing all the facts, and there wouldn't be anything that could stop that, but they're showing you that they can, or that they can at least attempt to try. Like, what do you think would be? How do we get past? In your opinion, how do we move past that and get to a point to get past the roadblocks that they keep putting up? Just keep doing shows like these, or what?
Keep
What?
talking about it, and everyone who has EMF detectors and all those cameras and available to computers
Science.
and stuff, go out and do your research. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when Close Encounters came out when I was a kid, and they had the Skywatchers Club, and it was just to join in with a pair of binoculars. Now look at the technology we had. Back then, we were all my kids in my class were like, got a pair of binoculars, and we'd get together and watch the sky for stuff we didn't know what we were looking at. We didn't really know what to look for, but all we had was binoculars. Today, we have such technology that you can't, heat cameras and all kinds of stuff that we can't. There's the evidence is going to be indefutable at some point, because
Yeah.
it's by accumulation.
Yeah.
It's like and that was the point of From the Shadows. It was, okay, let's say the ancient alien theory is true. At some point in our past, aliens came here and taught us how to levitate rocks and build these megalithic temples, and we did all these things. And then there was a flood and we forgot it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the cities that used it were destroyed, like Pumapunku and all of them. What happens if a modern day man by accident rediscovered that power?
Mm.
Now, even if you tried to do good with it, would you end up doing bad?
Yeah, yeah. That's heavy as well.
Because I mean, let's say if you had the ability to go back in time and kill Hitler, right, when he was a child, would you be doing a good thing or a bad thing? Would you be unleashing something worse without knowing it?
mm,
It was
potentially,
always going to be someone that was going to rise up based on Mussolini. So were you going to kill
right,
Mussolini and Hitler? All right. So would there be someone else worse?
right,
You
yeah,
know, I mean, Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin and these guys all came up together. It wasn't just one decided to be a fascist. Like Hitler didn't pop out of a vacuum. All these things happen. So if you kill Hitler, you're going to get someone else.
mm. Yeah. You're on
So,
fire, man. I love that. I love that thought process.
and that's the idea
Wow.
from the shadows. Can we use this power to do good, or is it corruptible? And that's why all the ancient civilizations, from Atlantis to Pumapunku to Harappa to Göbekli Tepe. I mean, they buried Göbekli Tepe. They buried the city.
Mm-hmm.
So was it all to cover up this power, to stop our modern man from having it because it wasn't meant for us? Or we're too
Wow.
corruptible or too greedy? Maybe we're just not evolutionary. Maybe there is no disclosure, is because we are not evolutionarily ready to deal with what's out there. I mean, think about us. I
Man.
mean, think about Rod Serling, who's a genius as far as I'm concerned, and that line in Planet of the Apes: "Beware the beast man. Drive him back into his jungle lair, because he will kill his brother to possess his brother's land. He will kill, he will murder, he will steal, he will do anything. Man is a horrible, greedy, self-important creature who will destroy everything in his path. We're like locusts on this planet.
Yeah.
Maybe one day when we almost destroy each other, or after we destroy each other, what rises up after us, we can be a better species. Maybe that's when disclosure is going to happen. Because I mean, would you want us out in the galaxy if these people are millions of years more advanced than us, if these creatures, and we are this warlike, petty little race? Would you want us out there? I mean,
Not at all.
we're
Not
worse
at
than
all.
Klingons.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You are so right. And I've touched on some of that stuff. And as far as, yeah, I mean, the current state of man and our whole ideals, the whole capitalism situation, how we haven't even figured out a better way to get around that and have a better model. Like we're not ready to go out there into join the Galactic Federation at this point.
yeah.
We are just not ready. So I'm glad you said that, because that is such a true fact, and then it makes you think. We're all pushing for it so much, but are we really even ready to go there? We
Well, I mean,
really aren't.
look at the story of Satan. From the Hindus to the Buddhists, everyone has a form. The ancient Greece, they all have a form of the Satan story. There are these warring factions, and one faction decided to side with us and give us choice and knowledge and self-awareness, right? And he was punished for it. And sometimes the Satan character is the hero of the story, and sometimes he's the villain. It's in every culture, just like the flood story is in every culture,
Right.
and you have to look at it and go, well, if Satan gave us all this stuff and created modern man, and we're such horrible species, I mean, we're the only species in the world that enslaved our own kind, right? I mean, you think about that, we and had genocide. I mean, ants don't try to genocide cockroaches or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
You know, we we are such a horrible species that maybe some of the stories Satan is the bad guy, but he did give us all this knowledge, supposedly, of self-awareness and choice and all of that. I mean, there's a school of thought where you say, if you look at the story, I mean, we were naked, dumb sheep in the Garden of Eden. He gave the apple to Eve, made us self-aware, gave us self-choice, and created modern man. So which is original sin, right? So was it a good thing or a bad thing? Was it better that we were subservient to this higher power? And by definition, anything that's not of this earth, whatever you believe God is, it's still not of this earth. So by definition of our language, he's an alien. So if we were subservient to this alien and listened to him, maybe we would have grown better. But Satan broke us off for him and gave us. I mean, what about Sisyphus and and Prometheus and all these characters, whatever you call them, Satan, Prometheus, Sisyphus, whatever it is, Satan is always punished for trying to help us.
Right.
Like Satan type character. So I mean, going back as far as you can, man has always been his own worst enemy. So why would any advanced race want to have anything to do with us? If I was them, I would want to keep an eye in the sky, observe us, make sure we don't get out there too early before we're evolved enough to handle, get beyond this petty thing of money and greed, and I'm better than you because I'm a different shade than you. You know what I mean? We're really pretty pathetic if you look at it.
Yeah, still primitive. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, look where technology's taking us. In Japan, they have automated McDonald's. We're gonna have in China. They have AI news reporters, computer generated AI news reporters. All the writing's done by the computer. Everything. What jobs are going to be left for us?
Right.
I mean, At some point, it's not going to be feasible for money to be for everyone to have a job. So where are you going to get your money?
Right.
Money is not a sustainable, excuse me, a sustainable future for us.
Right.
Right.
Totally right. That's exactly what I said. I had an intergalactic capitalism show I did my own channel, and that's kind of the point that I was making. Like, we have to find a different model because of that fact. Money is going to be pretty useless at some point, and then where does humanity go from there? And you just really make a lot of great points, and you had me thinking when you talked about the rediscovering our own lost technology, right? Like, that would be a good thing to focus on. I mean, obviously we want to keep an eye on what we're doing here with what's in the sky, but just even rediscovering our past, our lost past, would probably help us get to the point to where we need to get to then take that step to go out there. You know what I mean?
What about the chamber that's supposedly in the left or right foot of the Sphinx? No one will let us go down there.
Yeah.
What about the new chamber they found in the pyramid that they know is there? They won't let us go down there. They won't go put a camp drill through the wall. I mean, there seems to be, excuse me, excuse me, a real belief.
Yeah, take a break. Take your time.
Should get to water here.
Yep.
But there seems to be a belief that we can't handle the truth. Whatever our history is, we can't handle it. Because, I mean, what happens if our truth is that our religion is all nonsense?
Right. I'm sure there's a lot of that to come. Just a lot of things that we thought that is going to change everything, religion and everything. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, if the religion doesn't work, if religion turns out to be something different than what we think it is, everything's going to fall apart. And you're going to have zealots that are going to hold on to it. I mean, you have to be prepared. I mean, countries will fall. We're no longer a bunch of countries. We're one species in
Yeah.
an intergalactic space. So what happens to all the power structures in Russia and China and the US, in England, in France and Germany? You know, why would people be loyal to a country anymore?
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. And so saying that, and we know that the people who are pretty much holding all the secrets back are those people that are in charge of these countries, these powers, and their whole goal is to maintain power over the people that they look over. So when it comes to a point where one has to give, are we looking and it's scary to think of what those nations would do to keep power. And that's the thing I think about, is like what happens when they figure out that the power balance is about to shift to the people, and what lengths do they go to maintain the power? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like what happens then?
think about what the oil companies are going through, paying these scientists to create. There's no such thing as climate change. It's not caused by man. All that disinformation, and that's just about oil money. You imagine when the whole country is at risk, what people in power will do. But if you want to get some idea what it's like to cover up something, I mean, we just had these huge floods in New York. Long Island, all that, just from rain. We never had
Right.
anything like that.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah.
So, don't believe your lying eyes, right?
Man, you going way deep. Man, and I love it too, and because I love getting into these deep conversations. And you really dropped some jewels today. What I want to do is I want to make sure that we get into your movie here, because I know then it just went to Voodoo, right? It's now
Yeah,
available.
we're now premiered as a Friday night on Vudu. Everyone can watch it. The name of the movie is From the Shadows. It stars Bruce Davison, Selena Anduze, and Keith David. Keith David, you may know from The Thing, and They Live, and Nope, and Dead Presidents, and Something About Mary, and Platoon, of course. And Bruce Davis has been his everything. I mean,
Yeah.
he was Willard, the senator in the X-Men movies. Let's see, God, he won an Academy Award nomination for Longtime Companion. He's in 1923. He's the father who had to watch his son fall off the boat at the end. Yeah, seen that. He's kind of the villain of 1923. The Yellowstone's prequel, if you've seen it, it's great, by the way. So we got this great cast. Selena Anduze is amazing. I mean, she's been in
She is, yeah.
and she's been in WandaVision. She was Agent Rodriguez in WandaVision, and she was in Doctor Sleep and the Haunting of Hill House, whatever, the one that was a big hit on Netflix. So she's the up and coming scream queen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing in it. I mean, we delve into a lot. I mean, it covers a lot. It covers the ancient alien theory and the power that's supposedly there. And it covers, we even get into shadow people in it.
Yeah.
And what shadow people are, and from different cultures and stuff. And it's funny. It's like, some people watch it and they're like, I don't get it, but it's scary. You know what I mean? And then people that watch the Ancient Aliens and know this stuff, they're like, holy shit, it's really cool, because this is like the first movie that really, if you're into it and you know what's on the screen, you're gonna get really excited.
Oh, I was tapping my girl the whole movie. I was like, this is talking about Puma Punku. I was like, you don't know about Puma Punku, like and the whole shadow people thing. I'm like, I just previously, before we came to the premiere, I'd done a show specifically on shadow people, so it was kind of ironic to see that, and I was just like nudging her the whole time during the movie, like, oh, he's there, oh. So it was the way you tied those things in there was very interesting because like you say, if you did, so for someone who may not know about it, may say, oh, it's scary, but then once if they were to find out the information and then watch it again, then it's like, oh, and then you see all these hidden things in there. So I thought it was real like brilliant the way that you kind of melded that stuff in there. So
well, I'll give you an Easter egg. I'll give you an Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
So the cloud, when they're visualizing and their brains are expanding into the power, same alien power, and you see that cloud.
Yeah.
I said to the editor, okay. He says, well, what is this cloud that you want to create? And I go, it's the Akashic record. He's like, what? I said, I want to see the Akashic record. I go, look it up, because I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to create it. You're the artist, but I want you to create a visualization of the Akashic record.
Wow. I would have never known that if you didn't say that. That's wild.
That's why his consciousness is stored there.
Yeah.
That's what they're tapping into. It's like Nostradamus tapping into the pool of water, or Edgar Cayce going into the trance. They all supposedly were able to access the Akashic record to gain knowledge and information and foresight, right? So where is Bruce Davidson's character hiding while they're searching for him? He's in the Akashic record. That's where he's
okay.
When they visualize where Keith David's character is, and they get the pictures and she's holding it up and she sees the flashes, that's all coming to her through the Akashic record, which also harkens back to the CIA, experiments where they did, I forget what they called them, where they would viewing, something like that.
The Stargate, what we were just talking about.
Operation
Stargate, yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's all part of it. They were all accessing the same place, the Akashic record. So that cloud, even though I didn't want to say it in the movie because that would open up a whole nother can of worms, we'd have to spend another half hour explaining the Akashic record.
Right.
So for all you experiencers and people that are into it, when you see the cloud in the movie, if you see the movie, that's the Akashic record.
That's crazy. And the thing is that just saying that, like a person who understands all this coming into the movie, you can tell like that you knew how to place these things in the movie. They weren't just thrown in there, these references. They were really engraved and laced into the story and the meaning of the movie. So that was the extra like excitement for me, because I know these topics and I appreciated how they were put in there. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And I think everybody out here in the audience that sees the movie will feel the same way. And it's definitely something you have to see. Now we have the trailer that I definitely want them to see here. So I have it queued up. So let's run that real quick here. All right, guys, this is going to be For the Shadows.
I think something's outside.
Don't go out. Absolutely don't go out. Why? I started seeing shadow people.
Are you threatening me?
You're goddamn right I am.
This power chose us to discover it.
Don't be afraid. I'm not afraid.
Science is now able to advance at a previously unheard of pace.
Get back! If you break the circle, if you step away, if you fail, you're wrong. Die.
That movie, that is awesome. You guys have to go see that movie. Well, it's on Vudu now, so you
On
should be able to
Vudu
go
now
rent
from
that.
Stratus. Yeah, you can rent it now on video or buy it on Vudu. And it's there for the whole month before it breaks it out to all the on-demand on all the cable stations.
Jeez. So yeah, we went out there and we had a ball, man. I appreciate you hosting me out there the way that you did.
It was my
Uh, it
pleasure.
was it was a great experience. I was on the red carpet out there. Filmed the whole red carpet event. Had a lot of people out there. A lot of people I looked into, a lot of producers and actors, actresses that weren't in the movie were there as well.
Yeah, a lot of horror stars came out to support the film.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. And the movie was a nice, intimate setting. It was a great experience to watch the movie with everyone who was in the movie. You know what I mean? That was a whole different experience. So I really appreciate that.
I
And
loved when there's a line in the movie where he goes, "We're fucking X-Men." Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. Sorry.
yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, we're X-Men, and I looked over at Bruce Davison, and because he was an X-Men, and he starts laughing, and so I said, "Yeah." So you can't get that if you just see it at the regular theater.
Exactly. It was just a nice experience. So are you still premiering it? Or I know you had one in New York recently. Are they all over?
Yeah, we had the opening in New York, and we played in theaters in 5 cities for a week. It was special limited engagement, and now it's exclusive on Vudu. And we've got a big expose coming up in Dread Central, which is one of the top horror sites, where we're going to be raffling off the prosthetic that Keith David wore in the movie.
Okay.
We're gonna have it in a mold of his head in a case, and he's going to sign it. So it's raffling that off, and we'll be able to raffle it off like clicking through to watch the movie from Dread Central when the article breaks. I think next week we'll be announcing the raffle. So if you're interested in getting Keith David's prosthetic created by the great Vincent Guastini, special effects makeup artist Vincent Guastini, you can enter at Dread Central when the article breaks. So keep a lookout on Dread and watch the movie through Dread and get a free chance to win the prosthetic from Keith.
That is awesome. And Keith is a really nice guy, man. Actually got to shake the guy's hand. He's a legend in this space. All the horror films, first movie. I don't know if it was his first movie, but the first movie I ever saw him in was The Thing.
That was his first movie.
That was okay.
And what a job he did, right? You never forgot it after all these years.
Exactly. The original Thing. If you guys haven't seen 1982, I want to say it came out. You want to see The Thing, and it's an epic movie.
And I tell you, the first time I met him, first thing I asked was, "Look, Keith, just between you and me, buddy, pal, who was the Thing at the end? You or McCready? Childs or McCready? Right? You or Kurt Russell?"
Yeah.
And he told me.
It's secret.
But he was nice enough to tell me his and John Carpenter's belief on who it was, which was very cool. Now I'll tell you something else that was amazing. So the guy who did the music for From the Shadows is Alan Howarth, who's famous for doing the music, all of John Carpenter's scores. They did them together. Halloween 2 through 6, Escape from New York, Christine, Prince of Darkness, They Live. All that was Alan Howarth. Big Trouble in Little China, The Fog. All of them was worked with Alan Howarth.
That's crazy.
Alan Howarth is there with Keith David, two people from The Thing. And I called Keith into the theater before the red carpet because you had texted me and I didn't see your text for a while. So I didn't get a chance to meet you out front, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I was doing, so I wasn't just blowing you off. Well, what I was doing was I called someone to surprise Keith. So we called David Clennon. So if you know The Thing, David Clennon played Palmer, the stone guy from The Thing,
Oh, okay, yeah.
right, with the curly black hair.
Yeah.
Right? He came down to the theater to surprise Keith David. And in the theater, we had a reunion of The Thing with Alan Howarth, Keith David, and David Clennon.
Oh.
And for a half hour, they have those three guys together have a superpower. They turned a 50-year-old man into a 16-year-old fanboy. I sat there like this, listening to them tell stories behind the scenes of what went on with The Thing and how all these scenes were done with Rob Bottin, and the happy accidents created these famous lines and stuff. It was just, if you love The Thing, this was like one of the greatest moments that I could have had as a child, seeing that movie, to actually be there with those guys telling that story. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So that's what I was doing while you were waiting for the red carpet to start. I was in the theater hiding out with Keith David and David Clennon and Alan.
Man, that's epic. That's epic, man. Like I say, he's very, very personable guy. It was just a pleasure and an honor to shake his hand. You know, he's through my growing up. Like I say, Thing came out, I was like little young and little child. So I've been watching him in everything my entire life. So that was a great moment. And then to go in the theater and watch his latest movie with him,
yeah,
that was pretty awesome, man. I gotta thank you for that, Ian. You came through big time.
Well, you helped us out too. I mean, it was great that you were there to get all that footage and everything. Now we have it forever as a memory,
Yeah. And I want to see what you guys do with that. But
they're trying to put together like a little 3 to 5 minute thing for the foreign DVD, because they do a lot of featurettes. Foreign. I mean, we don't really do DVDs or Blu-rays here anymore. So I mean, for the foreign, they still do it. So we're putting together a little featurette for that, just to show the premiere and
yeah.
stars that were there. I mean, there's a great moment where Bruce Davison, everyone keeps asking for a picture with Keith David, and Keith David's getting a picture. Bruce David sticks his head in and goes,
yeah.
That's a great moment, because Bruce is so serious. He takes his craft so seriously, and he's a great actor, but he actually has a great sense of humor when you get to know him.
Yeah. I got a good one with them together hugging. So that was actually a real good one. I'm gonna turn that one into a picture and frame that one.
I mean, it's amazing that they've never worked together. I mean, we were on the set the first day we got them together. It was something, because they were like, this guy, oh, and I know him, and him, and I know him, and they all knew all the same people, and it was, I mean, while we're setting up, they're chatting away. We could have all left, just left them in a room to talk for like all day, because they came up together at the same time, so they knew all the same people. And
yeah, but never worked together.
It was like, when we put the movie together, we said we got to get them together, because it's like Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi never working together.
Right.
You don't get Bruce Davison and Keith David to be in at least one horror film together, then we're missing out.
So what are you working on? Like, what can we expect on your next? You have anything you're cooking up, or what are you looking at?
Of course, I'm already working on my next horror film. We have a couple of projects that are in development. I'm not sure which one's going to go first, but I have a few projects that'll be coming up in the next year. So I'll keep you posted as we know more. But yeah, we're already getting ready, gearing up for the next one.
Yeah, because I have intentions. So what I'm gonna do? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually in the gym right now, trying to get my health in check real quick, so I can go ahead and audition for one of those parts, man. So let me know when you have a casting call, so I could come on out and see if my chops are up to par, man.
I'd love to do that, and if not, we can always make you one of the victims.
A victim. You can make me a guy at the store #1 or taxi driver #1, or it doesn't matter.
I still want to live out my fantasy and get my head chopped off, so I can have if you know Maniac, the movie Maniac, or Gazzo, the loan shark, and Rocky, Joe Spinell from Maniac, when Tom Savini created the head that he chopped off, He kept it on
Mhm.
top of his TV set. So whenever we watch TV, we'd look at his decapitated head.
Yeah, so and I won't give you spoilers, but you make an appearance in the movie, right?
Yes, I am the random guy at the beginning of the movie. I get killed in the beginning, which
Okay, you gave it up. It wasn't me. So
yeah, well, it's the opening scene. You know, the guy, whoever's in the opening scene is dead meat. You know that.
dang, man. Well, it's awesome, man. And I told my girl, I said, I gotta watch it again. I gotta watch it again. So I'll be purchasing that on Vudu for sure.
Oh, great.
And man, I think you guys all should do the same. It is a great movie if you're into horror, and a lot of those nuggets that we talked about, the references to ufology, really, the shadow people references. I think you'll find it entertaining on a level, and then also you'll resonate with it because you are already enveloped in this, in this field. So
Yes. So
excellent
I
freaking
think
movie.
this audience, as you know, it's fun for horror audiences, but I think Space Out Radio audience will really be into it because they'll understand exactly what I'm doing. I mean, there were reviewers that are like, "Oh, it's like technical babble from Star Trek," and I'm like, "No, it's not. You didn't do your research. This audience will appreciate it."
Exactly. And it was, like I said, it was just so funny because my girl does not understand any of those references, but I did. So I'm just sitting there nudging her the whole movie, like, did you hear what he said? Oh, you referenced this? Oh, and she just had no clue what I was talking about. But she's a film person and she really enjoyed it. And like I said, it was just great being there with you guys and hearing everybody. That was another thing. When the credits were rolling in the beginning and everybody's name came up because the person is there, so everybody's cheering and clapping, and I'm like, this is okay. This is a great experience here, man. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, the cast and crew were just great because we didn't have a huge budget, and we had like 795 effect shots, and a lot of these kids, this was their first starring role.
Okay.
So, I mean, to deal with the special effects and stuff and to do it so well, and we owe a lot of to our special effects and editor, uh, visual effects is Ryan Kelly, who did a
Okay.
masterful job, and to have the opportunity to work with Alan Howarth to score the movie. I mean, it's just like, my dream as a kid, we all wanted to have John Carpenter and Alan Howarth score our movies when we were kids, to actually have them do it. I mean, it was so fantastic because, when I told him what I wanted, we were working with the director and we said, I want that classic Alan Howarth score. And he actually pulled out of the attic the synthesizers from the 80s that he did the Halloween scores on to record our score. So it sounds exactly got that special synthesizer sound from the old John Carpenter soundtracks. So that certain sound that even digitally they can't recreate today. So it was pretty amazing, when he played the music for us, we were all like, so.
Well, I gotta have you back, Ian. Obviously, we're here talking the movie today, but you dropped a lot of bombs today and really got the mind working. So I really appreciate that, and I love to have you back talking some more of that. Yeah, it seems like you are heavy into it, and I know the audience enjoyed it. So here's what we're gonna do: we're gonna thank Ian Holt for coming through for hour number 2. It has been a pleasure talking to you, a pleasure working with you in person as well. Many more to come, and we will be reconnecting.
Yes, thank you, Rob G, for coming out, and thank you for having me tonight. And everybody, Voodoo from the Shadows, check it out, and then let us know what you think.
Exactly.
And Rob, it'd be a pleasure to do this with you again anytime.
All right, thank you so much, Ian. And I'm going to say we're going to take time to pause for the cause with our last break of the night. As we get ready to jump into hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio, we have a couple surprises, a couple new things that we want to do. So be right back here with you guys. Hour number 3. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And for the final hour, we're going to do something a little different. What we're trying to do, like I stated with the show, we're trying to formulate something that kind of pays homage to Spaced Out Radio, the main show for the week, kind of give you a glimpse on what happened, which we did in hour number 1, and we'll, perfect that as we go along. But here in after hour number 3, we want to do things that engage the audience more. So we were going through a list of things, and we have a lot of different things that we're gonna end up trying in this hour number 3. But what we're gonna do tonight, because I know with all the space travelers out there, that you guys have really good knowledge when it comes to ufology and the subject and things like that. So we're going to test that knowledge. And here's how we're going to do it. So as you see on the bottom of the screen, we have a banner that says Spaced Out Trivia. So I want to see where your head is at. What we're going to do is for the winners, we're going to go ahead and post you in the pinned comment on this video. So it's there. So bragging rights saying you had the best knowledge for the night. Your name is going to be in the pinned comment, and you'll get a shout out on the Spaced Out Radio social media page. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to pose the question, and then we're going to monitor the chat. And the first person to answer, obviously, with the correct answer, I'm going to save the comment. We'll tally up the comments at the end of the trivia to see who the winner is. So I don't know, I know we're going to end up doing ufology. Well, tonight we're going to focus on ufology, but we will eventually start mixing in some S.O.R trivia, which is questions about the guests that we may have had, some things that only, spaced out space travelers would know about the hosts, little intricacies, things like that. But to make it fair to those viewers that are just coming in from the outside, they're going to have some ufology stuff based questions in there as well. So anyone can win. And I am excited to see who's going to end up winning tonight. But before we jump into that, I definitely want to let you guys know, to all the space travelers, which you guys all are, take the next step and join our Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month. You can do that by joining the Patreon. You can also get some official Spaced Out swag at spacedoutradio.com. So go on and get swagged up. Get your mug, get your cup, get you Spaced Out Radio shirt. We will be having some after hours gear added to the store at some point here with the logo that you see here on the screen. So yeah, we're going to get you all spaced out, guys. So let's do this. I just want to see who knows what, right? So we're going to start with the first question. And it's just whoever wants to answer, whoever answers first is going to be the one that gets it here. So question number 1. This one is easy. Everyone should probably get this one. In what year was the famous Roswell UFO incident reported? In what year was the famous Roswell incident reported? Anybody in the chat? Where you at? Where you at? In what? 1947. That's right. So we got Night Stalker, 1947. So that's one for the Night Stalker. That's excellent. You are absolutely correct. 1947. Roswell was the beginning of the cover-up. As we know it, one of the biggest cover-ups in ufology's history. So let's go for this. Simple, simple, simple. Everybody should get this. In what year? No. What does UFO stand for? If you guys don't know this, I don't know if you're a space traveler or what. What does UFO stand for? Come on, guys. UFO. O-Red's toothbrush gets it. Unidentified flying object. Unidentified flying object would be UFO. That is correct. That is correct. So, yeah, Dogface says it's underwear floating projectile. Here's what I got for you, Dogface, on that one. You're my guy, but yeah, not gonna be it. Not gonna be it, Dogface. So let's go to which let me see. I'm gonna want to make sure that these aren't too hard. So which US government program investigated UFO sightings from 1952 to 1969? Which US government program investigated UFO sightings from 1952 to 1969? And we got Night Stalker again, Blue Book, Night Stalker up 2 right now. You get up 2. Night Stalker might take it, man. Oh, love you, love. Feed is slow. Okay. All right. Yeah, that one might be a little tough. This one should be pretty easy, though. This one should be pretty easy. Which astronomer famously stated extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence in the context of UFOs? Extraordinary claims, extraordinary evidence. We should all know that one. Oh, we know that one. Up. I'll give that one to you, Eugene, for sure. He said Sagan. So we know he means Carl Sagan. So we'll give you Sagan. Even though Carl Sagan would have been the correct answer, but we're going to give that to Eugene. Okay. All right. So Okay, this one should be pretty easy as well. What is the term for a UFO sighting where there are multiple witnesses or corroborating evidence? What is the term for a UFO sighting where there are multiple witnesses or corroborating evidence? Joe Monk. Joe Monk is on it. That would be a mass. He said mass sighting, but I know what you meant, Joe Monk. You meant mass sighting. So mass sighting would definitely be the answer. It would be a mass sighting. So let's see. Okay. This should also be pretty easy. In what country was the Rendlesham Forest incident reported in 1980? Which country? Rendlesham Forest incident. What country? Okay. Dog, you guys are coming right in right after each other, man. But it looks like in the feed, Dogface gets it. Dogface. Rendlesham Forest is in the country, is in England. England. Okay. Good, good, good. So let's see. Let me get another good one. Won't be too hard. Okay. Let's see. Is that okay? Here we go. This one, which American aviator and author claimed to have seen 9 UFOs while flying over the Pacific Ocean in 1947? Actually, I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the answer for that, and I don't think that that's right. I think that one is wrong. Kenneth Arnold. Kenneth Arnold, Night Stalker. According to this list here, that's exactly the answer. So, okay, yeah. This should be pretty easy as well. Which U.S. president reported a UFO sighting when he was a pilot in the U.S. Navy in 1969? You got the England one. Let me go back. Yeah, I said Dogface got it. Oh, Rez, right before you. All right, President Jimmy Carter, Dr. Love. Oh, let me see. Oh, Mike Bothwell. Mike Bothwell. No, Eugene. Let me go back. Yeah, Eugene got it. Eugene was the first. Eugene got it. Okay. So somebody said Carl Sagan. They may be way back in the stream. Let me see. Okay. All right. This one, you have to think about this one, but I'd be surprised if somebody gets it right off the bat. Okay. Got you, Dogface. And that's the thing. Yeah, they do come through and it's like instantaneous. So I'll do that. Let me go back here before I ask this next question here. O-Reds. Dogface has handed this one over to O-Reds. O-Reds, England. Okay. This one you probably are going to have to think about. I know. I think the Arnold one was. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one that's yeah, I just got this list on offline. I got this list offline. So I didn't put these together myself. Just so you know, I got this list from offline. But let me see. So the next one was, let's see. Okay. What is the term for the study of unidentified flying objects and related phenomenon? What is the term for the study of unidentified flying objects or phenomenon? Oreds. Oreds got it. Ufologist, ufology, essentially. Yes. Okay, okay. All right. So this is a gimme right here. Let me check that. Make sure. Okay, yeah, this is a gimme. Who was the author of the best-selling book Communion, which detailed his alleged experiences with extraterrestrial beings? The author of Communion, the book Communion. Okay, there we go. Somebody said TMI, Whitley stream room, streablers. What do you mean that? I'll take the Joe Monk. Let me see, Joe Monk. The way that these pop up is kind of, yeah. Eugene says Steiner. So Joe Monk said Whitley Strieber. So Joe Monk, Whitley Strieber. Spelled it wrong, but I know what you mean. Let's see. Okay, okay. All right. In what year did the Belgian UFO wave occur involving numerous reports of triangular UFO sightings? The Belgian wave. Belgian UFO wave. Timotman. Timotman. Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. Next question in spaced out trivia is going to be, what is the name of the U.S. government program established in 2007 to investigate unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAPs? The name of the U.S. government program. I want to give it to you, Orez, but you're missing an A, man. You're missing an A. So the first one with the technically correct response is the Night Stalker, AATIP, which we all know Lou Elizondo was supposedly the head of that, although Susan Go says he never actually had a part in that. So let me see. All right. Okay. Okay, that's not a good one. Okay. Should be well known. Well known, this one right here. Everyone knows this one. Which iconic radio broadcast in 1938 caused panic among some listeners who believed it was a real news report about an alien invasion? Which iconic radio broadcast in 1938 caused panic among some listeners who believed, yes, it was definitely War of the Worlds. And where's the first entry for that? It appears to be the Night Stalker. The Debster was right there. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. In 1975, Travis Walton claimed he was abducted by a UFO while working in which U.S. state's forest? Which state forest? What was the state? What was the state, though? There we go. I see it. Wait, okay, who's got the first one? Yep, looks like Tamakman. It is Arizona. I didn't know that at first. I was like, with all the logging and stuff, is it Arizona? You wouldn't think Arizona, but yeah. Fire in the Sky, Travis Walton. We know that whole story. Okay. All right. Oh, you might not know. You might take a little to get this one. Let me see. Somebody gets this one, man. What is the name of the U.S. military pilot? Wait a minute. No. I'm not gonna know. For some reason, I don't like that one. Let me see. Series. Okay. Which country's government released a series of videos showing unidentified aerial phenomenon or UAP recorded by military pilots? Which country's government released a series of videos showing unidentified aerial phenomenon or UAPs recorded by pilots? It would be the US of A, and it looks like Reds for the win. Reds. The United States of America released the iconic videos known all over the globe. Okay, that's great. So let me see what we got. Oh, maybe. Okay, let's see where your knowledge is at on this one. What is the name of the small town in West Virginia that became famous for a series of alleged UFO sightings in the 1960s? Which country's government really, or no, that's what I just said. Yeah. What's the name of the small town in West Virginia? I see somebody got it. Okay. See how we are living. Point Pleasant in West Virginia. Awesome. All right. And Wow. This is peculiar. Let's see who gets this one. So, which science fiction writer and founder of Scientology claimed to have had extensive experiences with extraterrestrial beings? I'd be shocked if somebody just knows this one. I would be just blown away if somebody knew this one. Oh, TMI. You got TMI. You got all that information. TMI. Let me make sure because they all came through at once. Eh, no, TMI didn't. According to the list, the first person to answer that was, yeah, the Night Stalker. Because I'm looking, it's weird how it's doing that. Okay, Night Stalker got it with Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard, though. So wait, should we give it to you because you said Hubbard? I don't know. What Hubbard though, right? Old Mother Hubbard? Is it Old Mother Hubbard, Night Stalker? So I don't know. Ron Hubbard. Ron Hubbard or L. Ron Hubbard? L. Ron Hubbard is the real answer, man. I got a TMI. You got that one. It is L. Ron Hubbard. Okay. And all right. And so yeah, we're getting right up on 10:30. So we should be wrapping this one up here. I just want to pick another couple good ones. Oh, let's see. Maybe this one. Okay. Yeah. Let's see who got this one here. Which U.S. government agency was responsible for the investigation of UFO sightings before the establishment of Project Blue Book? Which U.S. government agency was responsible for the investigation of UFO sightings before the establishment of Project Blue Book? That would be, looks like Glock Lesnar. Glock Lesnar got it right. It was the United States Air Force. I didn't really know that one either, though. I'm going to be real. I didn't really know that one either. And let's go like two more. Let's do two more. Oh. Which U.S. president signed an executive order to classify information related to UFOs, leading to increased secrecy surrounding the topic? Which U.S. president? So there was no Air Force then. I guess wasn't it the Army Air Force, right? So it's the AA. So did I get that one? Did somebody answer Army first? It was Army Air Force. All right. So for this one, let me get I think we got Neil O'Brien. Wait, let me see. Bush Senior, Truman. Yeah, Noel O'Brien got it. It was Nixon. It was Nixon. Okay. Yeah, there was the Air Force was part of the Army before they broke off into their own thing. Army Air Corps. Okay. All right. And All right. In 1997, Phoenix Lights incident, numerous witnesses reported seeing a formation of lights in the sky over which U.S. state? Easy. Oh, that's easy. Phoenix Lights happened in over what state? There we go. Justin Gooder. Oh, okay. Oh, it looks like you were. Let me see. The feed says it was Dogface that came in right before you. But Justin, thanks for coming through. Appreciate you, man. Should give you the win just for that. Dogface, AZ. And then Justin, runner up. All right. And we'll do the last one here because we have you say not Night Stalker got that? I was looking in the feed. I know our feeds can be different, the feed I'm looking at. Oh, yeah, you're right. No, actually, it's the Debster. These feeds, I have to wait for them to load before I give the say who won because it was actually the Debster. Like when it all settles, it shows Debster, then the Night Stalker. So it's Debster. Okay. All right. And let's see. Oh, okay. Let's see. Would you know that one? That's a give. That's a gimme. What's this? 11. Okay. In 1967, a series of UFO sightings occurred over what U.S. state involving multiple witnesses and law enforcement officers? In 1967, a series of UFO sightings occurred over what U.S. state involving multiple witnesses and law enforcement officers? Nope, nobody. Yep. Okay, I see you won. So let me make sure the chat is settled. So, in 1967, nope. It is actually, according to this here, the answer is Michigan. Michigan. Okay. Let's see. All right, did we get all those? Okay. Looks like that is. Yeah, to be fair, that'll actually no. This is okay. Here's one. Here's the off the cuff one. So everybody should know. If you're spaced already, you should know this one. So, what is one thing that David Scott hates for dinner? What is one thing David Scott hates for dinner? We'll give it to Susie B. It's breakfast, but pancakes would include. He hates breakfast for dinner for whatever reason. Because breakfast for dinner is the bomb. It's awesome. Okay, and what is the name of Tim Senor's bi-weekly show? Bi-weekly portion of the show. Tim Senor does the what? All right. We'll go with the Dogface UFO report. Okay. So we'll wrap that up, but we'll have the questions better formulated. There was actually a couple that I didn't like on there. So looking at the list, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 for the Night Stalker. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 for OREDs. And let's see if anyone else is close. Nope. So it looks like the Night Stalker is tonight's winner. So congratulations to the Night Stalker. Congratulations on your knowledge of ufology. A lot of you guys got a lot of right answers in there. But you know, it's just something to work your brain and test your knowledge of the field that you're in. I mean, we talk about this every day. You know, all the shows we watch pretty much talk about these things that we just covered. So glad to see that you guys are on your ball there. So, Night Stalker, we'll go ahead and pin your comment for tonight on the episode, and you're just there forever for all eternity to show that you were the one, who got the most answers correct on this spaced out trivia. So, what we'll do, let me go ahead and make sure that I've written that down actually. And we'll give the social media shout out as well. So, congratulations to Night Stalker. No hating, ain't no hating. And Night Stalker got it. And yeah, so what we'll do now is we're going to be looking into Lon Strickler. Lon Strickler has cryptid stories. So we're going to be looking into cryptid stories occasionally. And so we have these different segments, and we're going to be mixing them in and out, just trying different things and seeing what we can formulate as a good full package, and then we'll end up running with that. So I thought trivia was actually pretty engaging. We will be doing other things that tie into audience participation. So yeah, so this would be you guys are going through beta testing essentially. Yeah, so you're going through beta testing with us right now. So with cryptid stories, and we're formulating intros and all sorts of things for these segments, but we're going to be looking at a couple of Lon Strickler, and you can go ahead and check out these stories that we cover, plus a lot of other things that he has on his website at phantomsandmonsters.com. And he has some pretty good stories in there. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at one of them. Well, we'll look at a couple of them actually. And the first story that we'll look at is grayish green hairless humanoids encountered at high security facility. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, it looks like you can. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this particular story. All right. So, a security contractor recalls an experience that he and others had at a facility in the Richmond, Virginia area. He states that they encountered grayish green, hairless humanoids. So, he says he received the following account. I work for a security firm. We have a few ex military and law enforcement who are thoroughly trained and, depending on the contract, considerably well armed. Last year, I was assigned to a nondescript building on the outskirts of Richmond, Virginia. We usually get hired when the government wants to keep something under wraps. The building was large. It seemed like a repurposed hospital, but updated and sterile. The property was expansive too, but it had an 8-foot high chain link fence, and the grounds were under constant CCTV surveillance. We didn't find any of this the least bit odd, fairly commonplace practice, really. There was a roster of about 30 personnel who routinely worked in the building. I recognized all of them and knew a well enough to have brief conversations, but it was always idle chit chat. None of them ever revealed any information about the site, and I never asked until recently. We had hardly received any visitors, but more recently, it's been really steady from military higher ups, doctors, and various government agencies. I was typically on perimeter patrol, and I preferred it that way. Fresh air, no matter how cold, always kept me on my toes, and that's what I was doing the night that it happened. The building had been a buzz of activity all day. There had been a record number of visitors. I had seen military vehicles overtly enter the grounds. We had gotten word earlier that the contract was coming to an end and I was going to be reassigned somewhere in the Philadelphia area. At that point, there was only a skeleton crew of 5 or 6 left inside, plus 9 other security personnel. They had doubled us up over the last few days. So it was about 10:30 at night and lonely. I had another 90 minutes left on my shift. I was at the eastern edge of the grounds doing a routine check of the fence line when my walkie-talkie blared out into the silence. All security was being called to the main entry room. The voice spoke frantically, and I couldn't make out who was speaking. I started trotting towards the front of the building when I heard an alarm started blaring inside. It sounded like a fire alarm. I double timed it, and I could see another guard running from the west edge of the perimeter. Right before I reached the door, it flew open, and 2 women wearing lab coats burst through the entryway, running down the steps right past me. They didn't stop to talk. The other guard caught up on me. Together, we moved into the building. Multiple alarms were going off inside the building, and the overhead sprinkler system had been set off. Water was pouring down on the tops of our heads. We made our way to the entry point and linked up with 5 of our guys. 3 were missing. None of us knew what was going on, and we were under strict orders not to cross past the entry point unless directed to do so by building personnel. Then suddenly, 2 gunshots from the hallway past the door were followed by a scream of pain, which was cut short abruptly. Orders or not, this is what we were here for. So we moved into the hallway, leaving 1 man back to guard the door. The hallway was clean and sterile like you would see in an intensive care ward. We were unfamiliar with this part of the building, and when we came to a junction, we split into 2 groups. I took the north corridor, the other 2 guards, we made our way down the hallway, meticulously checking out each room. Most were empty, but others had what looked like medical equipment stored neatly on the shelves or covered by tarps. As we neared the end of the hallway, we came upon a set of double doors that crashed open, slamming into the walls, and then a body came soaring down the hallway, slamming into the guard next to me. I raised my AR to the door in response, but nothing trained me for what came barreling through. Calling them human would be a stretch, but 3 of them came crashing through the door after the body. Each was 9 feet tall with grayish green skin, and they were completely nude. They bore no signs of gender. Their bodies were lean, and a maze of veins ran along each of their limbs. They had human faces, but they were devoid of any type of hair. One of the 3 had a tangle of tubes and wires trailing after it, but the other 2 were riddled with scars and had gaping holes on their torsos. As soon as they saw us, they rushed. I was able to get a single shot off, and I watched it soar through the chest of the first one. It didn't even break stride. The last thing I remember then was my head slamming into the hallway wall. I woke up on a military base about 30 miles from where we had been. I immediately knew I was concussed and that I couldn't stand. It was a long time before anyone came to see me, and when they did, it wasn't the least bit enlightening. There was no explanation as to what I had seen or what those things were. Nobody would even formally acknowledge that I had been engaged in any type of combat at all. I did receive fair medical treatment, but that was it. Eventually, one of my superiors came to see me and let me know that I was being placed on temporary leave until I recovered and that I could return to duty after I got home. I tried reaching out to a few of the other contractors I knew, but still, I haven't been able to get in touch with any of them. Once this story gets out, I'm sure they'll know who blew the whistle. I don't know what will happen to me, and at this point, it doesn't really matter. We need to tell people what we saw. By K. Wow. Okay. That's pretty creepy. That's this phantomandmonsters.com. This is Lon Strickler, one of our frequent guests. We just had him on actually on Monday. And this is from his website. He has a lot of creepy stories here, cryptid stories. And this was one of two that we had selected for tonight. So that one was actually pretty creepy. Just thinking about that 9 foot tall, beings. I'm assuming these are stories that have been written into Lon. And yeah, that one was pretty crazy, pretty creepy. So what we'll do, we have the second story here, also from phantomandmonsters.com. And this one is, let's see here. Okay, yeah, that's the same one. So this one, okay. This one is I looked into the abyss and it stared back. And these are all actually pretty recent here on the website. So, an Arkansas man had a bizarre encounter with an unknown man at a local gas station. Leading up to this encounter, the entire atmosphere had changed, causing the witness to be on guard. I received the following account. Last summer, I had something happen to me that has left me feeling uneasy since. I live in a small town in central Arkansas. One evening after work, I had to stop at a local convenience store to get some gas for my car. A man and his son stood at the pump opposite me, and a young woman was standing by her car behind him. When the gas nozzle clicked full, I placed it back onto the pump and went inside the store to pay. When I came out, everything seemed different. There was nobody at the pumps. I had paid for my gas and walked back out in just a minute or so, but there was nobody anywhere. It was so bizarre, like I had stepped into another world. I suddenly felt scared, but didn't understand why. Then a man walked out of the wooded lot to my right. He was standing by my car at the same time I was heading towards it. When I walked by him, I noticed an awful stench coming from the man. He looked like a normal guy, not wearing dirty or old clothes. He looked like he was in his 30s or so. But when I again looked at him, I felt scared, like something bad was going to happen. I opened my car door and looked back at him. He was staring at me. The man came closer to me, kind of shuffling his feet. I need a ride, the man told me. The way he said it was startling, like a physical force hit me right between the eyes. He then said, "Give me a ride." That is when I noticed that his eyes had changed to solid black, no whites, no nothing. It was like I was looking into the abyss. The stench was also starting to affect me. "Where do you want to go?" the man replied. "Just give me a ride and don't ask questions," I said. "No, I can't. I've got to get home." He took a few steps toward me. I immediately got into the car and closed the door. As I started the car, the man put his face up to my car window. I felt compelled to look at him. I started to feel sick to my stomach. I put the car in gear and got the heck out of there. This has been troubling me. I've been having terrible dreams about this man almost every night since it happened. I'm almost afraid to go to sleep some nights. This is a small town. Everyone knows everyone else, but nobody has seen this black eyed man. I just don't understand what happened that night. HJ says the witness and I exchanged emails. He was sincerely frightened and wrote to me, "I feel like the man is going to reach through my dreams and kill me." He has sought psychological care, but states that the treatment did not help alleviate the dreams. Wow. So Lon Strickler has some pretty creepy stuff going over there at phantomsandmonsters.com. So I would recommend everybody go over there and check him out. What do you guys have to say about those stories there? Angels Are Life says, I know someone who saw something like this. They and their spouse. Hell of an experience they had. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, Justin Goodearth. Okay. This is for Justin Goodearth, because if you guys were there yesterday, we had a great conversation and I really appreciated his input and invited him to come over today, which he did. So I want to shout out to Justin Goodearth. So far, I like Rob G. Might be here on Saturdays in the future. I'm going to give you one of these, Justin. That's an awesome comment and takes a real guy to go ahead and say and do something like that. So shout out to Justin Goodearth. Welcome to Saturdays, and we're here Sundays as well. And just so you know, we're kind of, this is a new thing that we're doing here, and we're kind of working things out. So these segments we're going to put together like the perfect package, and then that's kind of what we'll be delivering on the weekend. So you guys are technically in a live beta test. But I appreciate that, Justin Goodearth. That's a good guy right there. Christine. Wait, Christine. Whoa, that sound woke me up. But I had to give it up for Justin, man. That's he's a man of his word. He came through, and I respect Justin Goodearth for that. For sure. See you tomorrow, Justin. All right. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Trying out new things. We're gonna fine tune this thing and get this thing on the right path. But like I said, creepy stories, man. Lon Strickler got some pretty crazy stuff going over there. So we'll be dipping into his vault occasionally. Let me get this off the screen. Let me get this off the screen. Yeah, so we'll be dipping into his vault occasionally, and the whole goal here is to not do what we're doing on the weekdays. So we want this to be a completely different experience than you receive during the week, because you get all the hard hitting interviews and the a lot of the deep woo stuff during the week. And on the weekends, we want you to be able to kind of relax, have a little fun. So we're going to be trying out a lot of things that engage with the audience. So spaced out trivia. Once we fine tune those questions and get them the way that we want them to be, because we want them to not just cover ufology and test your knowledge on that, but we want to also test your knowledge on just how well you know your spaced out radio personality. So we're going to have a lot of that in there. And then we're formulating some other things as well that will directly engage with you, the viewer. Because I see you out there, and I know a lot of you guys like to be engaged. You like to have your questions answered immediately in the chat, and we're about doing that. So formulating something great here, and we are definitely going down that path. So let me just let's see. Oh, so Debster, I'm not actually in Sac anymore. I grew up there, but I've lived all over Sacramento. I moved from the last place that I lived in was Elk Grove. So I know you know where Elk Grove is, but I've lived North Sac, South Sac. I lived everywhere. I was there for many years. Let's just say that decades. And I went to Rancho Cordova High School out there, and Hiram Johnson High School. So I know you know those schools, Debster. But I went to live out there. Christine, so Ram G knows hot weather. Yeah, definitely. So that's why where I'm at now, I'm in SoCal, out here in Bakersfield, And it gets really, really hot here. River Dogma Pitbull, great job tonight, Rob G. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to we're doing, like I said, it's like a live beta test what we're doing. So we're trying things that are unproven and just kind of throwing things against the wall, seeing what works, and then so we can put together the package. And I'm willing to do that. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna sit here with you. I'm gonna try some things. Direct feedback is a great thing. So you let me know what you like, what you don't like, so we can know what not to do and then what to continue to do. And then that way we can formulate the best show that you're gonna like. But I vow to have as much audience participation as a part of this, because I see that you guys like to be a part of the conversation, and I want to make sure that your comments are recognized and addressed. So as of right now, we still we have Nicole who's out sick at the moment. So technically yes. But you guys been powering through this thing on the dolo tip. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do, Debster. As you see, we're trying to turn this thing into something that is crazy. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and there we go. Um, no, I don't, Justin, but I would not. I would love to meet him. Yeah, it said First Responders Media. I have to check him out. If he's on YouTube, I have to check him out, and maybe we can collaborate or something. I know there's a few, um, creators that are out in this area, and I've thought about reaching out. So yeah, I have to check them out. Joe, first, I'm gonna write that down. First Responders Media for sure. Um, Okay. Yeah, Carl. And so that's the thing. So, and that's what we're going to tweak, because obviously, when you're doing it for the first time, you don't really know how much is enough or how much is too much. So, that's what we're doing actually. So, the first hour we're working out on as far as that goes, because we want to make sure that we're going to actually cover the the most the highlighted parts of the week, you know what I mean? And it may not even take that long to do. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Carl. And that is noted, and we will be definitely taking all that into consideration. So good on you for that, Carl. Appreciate you. Um, let's see, what else do we have here? All right. Looks okay. Looks like that's about it. Dexter, appreciate you supporting S.O.R. Space Out Radio, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and keep this thing going. So as you know, it is time to go ahead and wrap this thing up. So let me go ahead and close you out as we prepare to bring this show to a close. I want to thank all the super chatters, and we know that was Deb times two. And the Space Travelers Club, consider taking that next step. Join the club. That's right. You can join our Space Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon. We appreciate your support to all our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that, you ask? We actually own the night. Thank you guys for coming, and we will continue this tomorrow. You guys take care.